show, here to bring you a review on a Netflix movie that came out last week on December 24th called Don't Look Up. If you haven't seen it, you might want to go check it out. If not, be hear what I have to say first, and then I might entice you to go watch it. There will be spoilers, just FYI. So, to start off, this is an apocalyptic type movie, but it's a satire flick with a humorous side. There's some seriousness in it, but it's also funny. Some of the reviews that you might see online, of course, the critics basically on average gave it about a 5 out of 10, 55%. Now the normal reviews, the audience score, is a bit higher up. We're looking at about a 7 to 8 out of 10, somewhere around the 75, 77 percentile range, which is a little bit more of what I would rate it. I'll just kind of start off by saying my rating is about a 7.5 out of 10, of course. So if you want to convert that out of 100, we're looking at about a 75%, which I think it does rather well. It has a extraordinary list of actors, right? We're looking at Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Rob Morgan, Jonah Hill, Cate Blanchett, Tyler Perry, Timothy Chalamet, Ron Perlman, Kid Cudi, Ariana Grande, with a guest appearance, special cameo that wasn't actually listed on here, Chris Evans. And I think Chris Evans' cameo was rather funny because of what it entails. I won't spoil that part. It's not very long because obviously it's a cameo, but again, it was kind of just one of my favorite parts. Overall, I think the actors were great for what they were trying to portray here. There's a comet called the Dibiasky comet that will impact Earth in 6 months and 14 days, which seemingly will end all life on Earth, creatures, everything, humans alike, right? And the seriousness coming from Leo and Jennifer's and Rob Morgan's characters, because they're the brains, they're the scientists, who are like, hey, we've done the numbers over repeatedly, infinitely, it's going to hit no matter what. So it's sort of like there's this grave importance that we need to bring to the table here. And that table is in the Oval Office, where Meryl Streep's the Madam President. We've got Jonah Hill, who's her son. And Jonah Hill is sort of like his typical, I feel like he was sort of typecasted, which he does this sort of, very sarcastic type of, role. Again, he does it well. And, bit of a dick, bit of a douche. But again, I think he did a great job. Meryl Streep as the Madam President was this ditzy kind of, super lackadaisical, just completely ignorant to certain things, just not even political wise. There's a part where there's a giant container behind her that says flammable on it, and she's just lighting a cigarette right there, and it's like it makes you chuckle. It made me chuckle. There are a lot of these innuendos that were hilarious. You've got Tyler Perry and Cate Blanchett, who are these talk show hosts, right? On TV, and they're always so positive and just all hunky dory, everything's fine, and Kate and Leo's characters have little fling. There's this incident where Leo's in movie wife, she finds them coming back to their place, and the dialogue between Leo's wife, Dr. Mindy, his wife, and Cate Blanchett's character, Bree Eventry. It's so funny because like, can we just skip this part? We'll skip this part where Dr. Mindy, Randall, he has a lot of problems. He's got to take Cialis. He's got to take Zantac. What was it? Zoloft. He's got to take a Xanny pill every time he gets, anxiety or depression, and there's a lot of real life stuff. Leo played this nerdy scientific, guy from Michigan, really really well. And again, I think every single person did a great job in their roles. I think some of the critic remarks that were on the downside were heavy on the, it was too on the nose for certain things, whether it be, politics or, rioting or looting because of its end of the world, and again, I think some of that would probably be very realistic if it was the end of the world. And as I'm watching the movie and just trying to kind of enjoy it, sort of like a popcorn type flick, I'm wondering, if this was really the end of the world, what would people do? It makes you think a little bit, and it's not something that you really need to think about and have this like super existential thought process. But at the same time, you've probably had these thoughts of, well, what happens if there's a meteor or an asteroid headed towards Earth? What would you really do? There's a band, people may or may not have heard of them. They're like a metalcore band. They're called The Devil Wears Prada. They did a experimental EP called the Space EP, and every single song was about something that had to do with space. One was about an astronaut that finds a planet. There was one about aliens. There's one at the end of the album called I think it's called Asteroid, but it's about an asteroid that is basically headed towards Earth. And it's kind of like the lyrics in this part are really really great, because it's just sort of like, think of friends, think of families, think of lovers, think of foes. It's sort of like you think of everyone that you've ever come across from, whether it be a family member, a friend, an enemy. Like, it doesn't matter at that point, because no matter who you are, no one's making out of this alive, except in this movie. That's right. There is a spacecraft that has seats 2,000 people, with a 57% chance of cryogenically sealing that population, and trying to find the next habitable planet in our solar system. And you guessed it, there are which seems like top people. Mark Rylance, he plays the third richest man in the world, Peter Urschwell. And again, he did such a great job, because I hated his character. He just annoyed the ever-living piss out of me. And he's just super, super arrogant, very demeaning towards Dr. Randall Mindy, Leo's character. And, is sort of in with the president, of course. And, if you just would listen to reason and actually listen to the scientific numbers that were 100% correct, they probably could have avoided this in better ways over the course of 6 months and 14 days. And at the end of the movie, the Earth has, by this point, been obliterated, or at least life on Earth has been obliterated, and the people in the spacecraft arrive on a planet 22,740 years later. They're all naked, and they get to the land. They're like, oh my God, it's there's like a higher percentage of oxygen, and there's these critters or creatures that almost look like a iteration of a dinosaur. And Meryl Streep, she goes up to one of them and says, "Oh my God, are those feathers or scales?" And it bites her right in the face. And then more of them come and, basically all die. Which it's sort of like no one was able to escape the inevitable doom for humankind, basically across our universe. So, some might call it karma. But nonetheless, I think for the sake of not really taking this movie too seriously, but in some cases, again, I think that they did a pretty decent job sort of combining a satire flick with some humor. And like some of the other comments from critics I saw online, which I think was just a little bit much. I think some people were sort of maybe a little too harsh for Adam McKay, who directed it. And, like some guy basically said, like, um, if I wanted to get preached at, I'll just go to church. I mean, like, I don't know where that comes in. Like, no one's really getting preached at for the sake of, like anything religious in there. Timothy Chalamet's character was, slightly religious. And, one of the really great moments, I think one of my favorite moments in the film was at the end when it's, the comet has already impacted Earth, and you can see like these, cloud high tsunamis, just fire raging across the globe, and you've got a table of the Mindies and Timothy Chalamet's character Yule, and Jennifer Lawrence's character Kate, and Rob Morgan, who's Dr. Oglethorpe. They're all just sitting around, and they're just kind of saying these weird, not so much weird, but just these outlandish thoughts that you probably wouldn't really ever say in a conversation. Like, I really enjoy the bitter taste of cheap store-bought coffee. Yeah, and maybe some people do that, and that's totally fine. But it's sort of like thinking of the things that you probably would never really say. But it's like, at that point, who cares? Pardon my French, but fuck it. You're taking your last breaths. You're thinking your last thoughts at that point. And if you have the chance to be around friends and family, whether people that you love or you don't know, it's sort of just that like humanity type thought of really kind of coming together in unison and unity, as they face this inevitable doom. And the shot sequence was pretty cool. It goes in like this slow motion. You can kind of see like the backgrounds, the windows, the walls, the debris shattering, cracking, and then just like that, it just swooshes by with the debris and then flame. It was violent, of course, too. But again, I enjoyed it. Like, I definitely think it's worth watching if you're okay with, some intense parts. Again, some of the things might seem a little on the nose, but I think that's just the whole, joke behind it. I got a couple of comments where like, oh, these Hollywood elites were kind of being a little bit too liberal. And I'm like, listen, yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. If anything, if there's any sort of slight irony here, with Leo being a big Earth activist over the recent years, and him kind of doing this part, maybe that's why he took it in the first place, or maybe he just really wanted to do it and not even really thinking about that portion. But again, I think it was worth watching. I certainly didn't mind watching it and spending just over 2 hours. I think the runtime was pretty decent enough to tell the story. There were some side parts that I don't want to say didn't need to be in it, because it was just sort of one of those things where we got to look at these characters just a tad bit deeper, and also just sort of show, well, if this was you and you were in this position, you might do the same thing, because the world's ending in 6 months and 14 days. So that's about it. I'm not going to really ramble on for too much longer on it. So I've already rambled on for about 14 minutes here. So yeah, if you got any comments for me about this movie, did you think it was too on the nose in certain things, or did you not really give a shit at all? Did you enjoy it? Did you kind of chuckle at some of the things that I might have chuckled at? If so, comments. I want to hear them. I want to see them. I want to read them. I'll definitely chat back. I love kind of typing back to people who like to leave comments. So this might be the last video I post before 2021 comes to an end. And if that is the case, well, I wish everyone a happy New Year's. Sayonara 2021. Hello 2022. And may 2022 be a blessed year for all of us. I hope everyone has a safe and great weekend. And I will catch everyone probably over the weekend with more content. I still have to do a Matrix video, the last half of The Witcher Season 2, and we've got the Cobra Kai Season 4 coming as well, and some other things that I'll probably pop into next week. So I'll see you guys in the new year. Cheers, everyone.